Good evening. I'd like to call to order the March 13th meeting of the Conservation Commission. Tonight's agenda will start with continued business, a notice of intent filed by Meisner Brem Corporation, project location 4 Tamarack Street. This is DEP file number 206-0827, and it is continued from last meeting. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Ian Ainsley. I'm an engineer from Meisner Brem. I am here with Martin Burke, the owner and applicant. So if you recall at your previous meeting, you had asked us to do a couple things. One was to quantify the loss of flood storage created by the pilings under the house, and two, to provide compensation. We've done one of those. We have tabulated how much flood storage is being lost. We came up with 35 cubic feet, and that is the pilings and stairs, the 1 foot diameter pilings and the stair in the front. 35 cubic feet, it's about a little over a cubic yard. It's kind of one good size excavator bucket. You can kind of think of it as the size of maybe that table or a desk. So we're not talking about a significant loss of storage. I did provide a letter about a week ago. Hopefully you received it. That letter included testimony from Gary Bogue at Mass DEP when this project was going through a hearing process, and Mr. Bogue basically said that Mass DEP would allow a house like this, a single-family house, on pilings, and we were actually instructed to go this route when we went through the hearing process. I also did find a project that I presented to you a couple of years ago for 7 Avalon Street, and on that project you also did not require compensation for an addition on pilings. So I do have kind of past practice by the board to not require compensation for a similar project, and I also have direction from the state, Mass DEP, basically asking us to design it this way. So what I'm really asking the commission is to reconsider the compensation piece. This has been a long process going through the state. We've tried to do this the right way, and to come back in, with the way that the state instructed us to do. I don't really want to prolong this further for something that I don't think is a large or severe environmental impact, and I would ask the board just to reconsider their position on the compensation.
I don't believe I ever saw this letter that came from the state. Do you remember seeing that?
I know I provided it to staff. It would have been about a week ago.
Thank you.
But the gist of the letter is basically stating the quantity of flood storage lost. 2, it has highlighted testimony from Mass DEP during the hearing process. I can kind of read out some of that. So the portion that we highlighted from the testimony was Gary Bogue from Mass DEP Northeast. Mr. Bogue explained that the impact of the pilings would be considered de minimis, and that elevating the building on pilings would allow for an unrestricted hydraulic connection between the area under the building and the surrounding floodwaters. Further, in cross-examination, Mr. Bogue admitted that the department, at least the Northeast Regional Office, does not follow the strict requirements outlined in 310 CMR 1057, which is basically the compensation section, In fact, in cross-examination, he admitted that if a single-family home were constructed in bordering land subject to flooding on piers, then Mass DEP Northeast would allow the project as a de minimis impact.
Can I see what you're looking at? Do you
Sure.
mind?
Can I come up?
Please.
Was this a conversation you had with Gary Rowe, or did he come down and assess the site himself? Was this a conversation that you had with Gary Brogue, or did he come down and assess the site himself?
He
Did he go down?
come down and assess the site. So when this commission originally approved the project, when it was a basement with the vents, Mass DEP, Gary Bogue did come to the site and view it during the appeal process. What I'm specifically highlighting there is once this case went to a hearing and was before a judge, essentially, that was the testimony that Gary Bogue gave during that process.
So I see this. We did have this. I thought you were referencing a letter from them.
Oh, no, I don't have a letter from them. It's my letter that I wrote, just
Understood.
taking the decision that was written by the presiding officer in the case, and I just attached that as an attachment.
Thank you. I think that this board has gotten more strict in its past, and we have denied projects that cannot comply with the flood storage compensation necessary. That said, this has some history of approval in previous meetings where it was before the time where we got more strict. Yeah, go ahead, Louisa.
I would add, too, that, we did try to provide compensation originally when this went through the process with the basement. We had something pretty elaborate. We were trying to provide it. Mass DEP didn't agree with the way that it was being done, and we were instructed to do it this way. So I would say that we did give a genuine effort to do that when it was a basement, and now that it's pilings and they're not going to allow, the compensation that we tried to do, this is the point where we're at now.
I have a few questions or comments here. Your own submission to us, the recent one, references another project that isn't particularly parallel to this one. And my take from it is if we have made an error on the other project, there's no need to compound an error made by making the same error on this project. So that is not something that would sway me one way or another. We haven't given the certificate of compliance for that project yet, so I'm not sure if they even built the project according to what we had approved or not, but that's aside because that's not the project before us. So this particular project, I have some notes here. You have a note on the new plan, the revised plan, that says that the floodplain elevation is 102.4, I believe, and that is apparently a proposed revised flood elevation that just was proposed in June of 2023. I'm not sure if we're able to act on proposed revisions until they're actually approved, but the letter that you also sent to us from DEP referenced a floodplain elevation of 104. And I just mention that because that would add some more compensation that would be needed. You only went up to the 102.5 point, I believe, in your calculations. I'm not the math wizard that some of these project guys on the board are, but when I changed your cubic feet to cubic yards, I got 1.296, which is not just a little above 1, it's 1 1/3.
Yeah, one and a third, yep.
And my only visual of those calculations, at the first two elevations, you have a loss of 14 cubic feet, I believe. And then the third elevation, up to 102.5, you show a loss of 7 cubic feet. Now, I know that this plan says not drawn to scale, but it looks to me like the boarding of the deck and the boarding of the porch, and you have a deck on the back and a porch on the front. If the house is at 102.6, those boards would, I believe, have to be at least at 102.5, meaning they're in the floodplain. And if you had calculated the volume of those boards as well as the pilings, it seems like that loss of 7 feet should be, if not equal to, maybe even a little bit more than the 14 that was put down for the lower elevations. So I'm just questioning, I know there's some people here that know how to calculate this. You did say that your pilings were round.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mention that on the plan. It just says 12-inch diameter. Doesn't mention that they're round or square.
Well, diameter implies round. It's a circular
Well-
dimension, but agreed, it's not.
To you,
explicit
maybe,
stated.
but that didn't immediately imply round to me. So, you know, I'd like to see the real calculation, but, you know, the bottom line here, I think, is that the DEP admitted that approving pilings where there was no compensation was at their discretion, at the department's discretion. It's not at the discretion of the local level, the Lowell Conservation Commission. We've been called up once on this for not getting the required compensation that's required by the Act. And now you're asking us to make the same mistake twice. If you're confident that DEP will allow this, I'd say go for it, you know? They're not as busy as they were, according to what I've heard. And you did have the ability right after they came forward with this superseding order to appeal it, and that didn't happen. So it's not really our fault that you haven't got the approval for the project yet. We have our marching orders in the Wetlands Protection Act, and you're asking us to believe that somebody who said, apparently not under oath, but as an aside, that their discretion was they could approve it. They didn't call and tell us that we could approve it. And I'm certainly not going to start by approving something that is not compensated for.
Any other questions from the board? I think we should take an opportunity to reopen the public hearing.
I don't think we closed it.
Did we not close it? I don't remember. Well, I'd like to.
We didn't close it.
Can I take a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Sorry, I guess if it was never closed. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? Okay. In that case, yeah.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can respond just to some of the questions. I do agree that the commission is not Mass DEP, it's a separate entity. My understanding is most conservation commissions do take guidance from DEP as far as, you know, how to interpret the regulations and how to, you know, conduct the calculations and things like that. I do think Mass DEP is an authority that the Conservation Commission can rely on, you know, reasonably. I'm not saying that conservation has to do everything Mass DEP does, but I do think you would typically look to them for, guidance and direction. I do agree that the porch, the kind of the railings when you're up top, when you're higher, were not included in that calculation. So I can certainly include kind of the porch railings to add at the highest level of the elevations. I'm happy to do that and add that to the table.
So, yeah, we certainly do take the word of DEP into regard. That said, we have denied projects which do not have compensation above the existing grade of the site. These have not been overturned. If we were to vote one way and DEP challenges that and overturns our ruling, then we will take that into effect. I would say that I agree with Louisa that a word of yours, of somebody's, of DEP's in a letter that you highlighted doesn't constitute DEP's word.
Sure.
And so I shouldn't be expected to follow this request based on a secondhand recounting of what that conversation was or was not. And not that I don't trust you.
I get it.
But, if DEP had called up and said, we're going to approve this one because, that's a whole different story, of course.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it would quite be that explicit.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't really work like that.
what I would request is a continuance so that we can engage Mass DEP and see if they would put something in writing, and to see if we can revise our calculations. And we are working on a possible solution to find compensation, just to see if that'll pan out over the next 2 weeks. So I would like to get one more continuance to try to iron this out.
I think the reason we continued this was to give you a chance to come in with some possible compensation. And now I'm not really sure that I agree with the figures that you've come back with. So, we're not here to correct your work. You're a professional.
Sure.
And certainly, I think you got the feeling that at the last hearing that we wanted compensation, and there is no compensation on this particular lot. And if you feel that it's permittable by another department of the state that wrote the Wetlands Protection Act and approved it and defends it, then I think that's your pathway.
Yeah, I honestly think that you're overstepping the process, which is that we make our decision, and if you don't like it, you can appeal. A letter from them at this stage, I think, is outside of the general process of how this works. So, again, this does not. This is how this board has decided these cases. If we have seen several of them since the conversation about this earlier project, and we have voted the same way each time. None of those are constructed. So,
My only response is we are working on a way to get compensation. We're trying to communicate with our neighbors to see if they would be willing to give us some land at the requisite elevation so that we can compensate the needed storage at the needed elevation. We don't quite, it's only been 2 weeks since the previous hearing. We're not quite there yet. That's the only reason I would request 2 more weeks to try to button that up. So that's my request.
if you're accumulating significant land, then there's a redesign of the plans. At this point, I think that it's probably best for you to either take a decision or withdraw this application. I can't say with 100% certainty that I know which way this board is going to vote, but I know what she's going to do, and I'm going to do the same.
Sure.
So,
So if the board is unwilling to do a continuance and the options are, a withdrawal or a vote, I would request a vote.
Any other thoughts?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I've moved to deny this application as presented to us for the same reasons that the DEP denied it in their superseding order of 2021, I believe it was. And that is that it doesn't meet the requirements of, whoops, I don't have my microphone on. Doesn't meet the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act, and I'm looking for the section here. It's Section 310 CMR 10.574A. There is no compensatory storage shown on the plan for the fill that's proposed to be put into the floodplain, even though they've proposed what that fill might be at various elevations. And without compensation, we're unable to allow fill in the floodplain.
So is that a motion?
Would you mind, sorry, Louisa, just repeating the section? 310,
The what?
the section from the Wetlands Protection Act that you're citing?
It's 310 CMR
Yep,
10.57, parentheses 4, parentheses A, small a.
okay,
It's in the letter that you sent out to us, the superseding letter
okay,
from DEP.
okay.
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
Thank you.
So, thank you for your time. I wish you guys luck in the process, but this project has been denied.
Sure. Could I just get that letter back?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a request for determination of applicability, an application by Stephen Pereira, 29 Ludlam Street. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
So this is an RDA filed by Stephen Pereira, the owner, I assume,
Yes,
to construct a garage within the 100-foot buffer zone of a protected wetland.
correct.
Tell us more.
So I'm trying to make a garage, and I think it's believed to be 75 to 85 feet away. And I'm not good at this stuff, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm trying to put a two-bay car garage there to have for me and the family in my home.
So my understanding is that the nearest point of this garage to the wetlands is somewhere between 75 and 85 feet.
Correct, yeah.
And a portion of it is outside of the 100-foot buffer to the wetland.
Correct, yes,
So it's a portion of this building and therefore the whole building, which is in our jurisdiction.
correct.
So the house already exists. How about the driveway?
The driveway, the driveway's there, but it would need a little bit of an extension after to be put down.
And is any of that paved driveway area inside of the 100-foot buffer?
No,
Can you tell us a little bit about the construction of the garage? What you intend there?
it's going to be pretty much like a metal garage that is going to be put up. And it's going to be 25 by 30, 1 story high, a little bit under a story high. And
Will it have a foundation?
no, just a slab,
Okay.
yeah.
Pretty thick one, I hope.
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
around like probably 8 inches.
And then it's stud walls with metal sheathing?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anybody?
I have a couple of questions. I took a look out there today. It's kind of a hard spot to get to with all the one-way streets.
Yeah,
And you do have a fence at the rear of your property, is that correct?
yes, I do.
And this particular wetland is come before us several times before. It runs behind, well, opposite the Sunrise Shopping Center and down across a couple of streets, and there's I think there's a sewer pump station on one part of it, and there's an electrical station on another part of it. It's basically a wooded swamp, and it's hummocky, and I have never seen a whole lot of standing water there or a whole lot of flooding there. We have a 50-foot setback that we strictly maintain on residential lots. I find this is a little bit of a different situation in that this particular neighborhood is completely dense. The property that we're talking about that's wetland is owned, I believe, by the power company, and I don't believe they encourage people to use it for anything, and it is mostly fenced on the Ludlam Street side, I believe,
Yeah.
so that people would have trouble getting back there anyway. Our 50-foot setback is to prevent encroachment back into wetlands and leave some space for families to actually enjoy the outdoors on their lot. I think even if this isn't 50 feet, in this case, this is a well-defined lot with the fence, the private property beyond that. It may or may not be wet, but I don't ever remember it actually flooding a whole lot. I don't know how long you've been there.
I've been there probably 15 years now.
Yeah.
I've never seen any
So
flooded in that area.
I think our goal to protect wetlands is not going to be dashed by the proposal here, in that this garage, I think, can be put on this lot without any disturbance to the wetland more than what it may be disturbed now, and, you know, being fenced in and being owned by a utility company, it's probably wet enough so that even kids don't play in there a lot, I would think. I would be afraid of snakes, probably, I don't know. But, you know, if the 50-foot space isn't right there, we are at least 75 feet from the resource, so, you know, I don't think we should penalize people that live on Ludlam Street for having small lots and trying to make the best use of the small spaces that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if this is a wetland that was critical, that they still have enough space to build this garage. And,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, this is just a property line a distance to the property line, not a
Right.
distance to the wetland. I mean, they have plenty of space to the wetland,
yeah.
and it's less than critical of a wetland, so.
So, anyone else have any comments? So we're looking for a motion to make a -3 determination. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So you've been granted a -3 determination, which basically means that this is within our jurisdiction, but does not negatively impact the wetland. You can pick up your permits with Fran,
Okay.
and good luck on your project.
All right.
Thanks
thank
for
you
coming
very
forward.
much. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
all.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Our last main order of business is the emergency certification for Watlau Mixyaram of New England 45.1 Bernier Street. An emergency cert was issued to Lowell Misharam of New England to remove the fallen tree that is leaning on a wall on the property within 100 foot of the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. Frank, can you tell us a little bit more?
I think there might be someone on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a, hi.
Okay.
This is
Hi.
the private-
Sorry about that. I don't have the Zoom screen in front of me.
No, that's okay. I apologize. I was. Want to
We
make sure you
can't
guys.
hear. There you go.
You need to be. Is that okay?
We can hear. We heard you at the end there. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if you needed me to be on camera, but.
Oh no, no. Just start by stating your name and your address, and tell us a little bit more, please.
Okay, so my name is Apipet Filfemini. I'm actually representing the Lowell Mixaram of New England. My uncle is actually the president of the temple there, but he works late, so he asked me to get on this call with you guys. But it's just an emergency certificate to remove the tree that has fallen. I believe, I wasn't sure until now that the back of the property belongs to the Conservation Commission. So this is all new to me too. I just want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do.
So I live right around the corner. I've been to your temple several times, and I think we met the president the last time we were talking about the front wall, or
Yeah.
I can't remember, but he came in. So thanks for coming forward. I did see this tree. I mean, there's no saving this thing.
It fell.
And I mean, it's got to come down. So, does anybody have any questions? These guys have been before us several times. I want to reiterate my appreciation of you guys coming for something, even, this kind of an emergency. So, I have no further information needed.
Move to ratify the enforcement order. Or emergency order, sorry.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Has the work been done yet?
I was there I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Sorry, I just wasn't sure that you heard her. Go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, I was there last week and I think they were just talking about, who's gonna come and remove it. I think they're just getting volunteers and they're aware that they can't leave any of the fragments, any of the stumps, anything that's left of the tree in the property, like it needs to be removed. And I believe there's a couple people that are gonna pick up once it is like taken down to just use for like firewood or, outdoor cookouts or something. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not going to be left there because I've been trying to make sure that they follow the rules there too. So just, making sure that we do what we need to do.
It shouldn't be stored or any parts of it disposed of in the buffer zone or the wetland.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's going to actually go to somebody's house, probably a couple people's houses that have been wanting to just use it for either their outdoor cooking pits or firewood. I think that's what they've done in the past, from my understanding. So they know they're not supposed to dispose it anywhere on the property, around the property, anything like that.
Anybody want to make a motion?
To ratify.
Oh, the work's not done. Excuse me. Sorry. So the motion, motion was made to ratify the emergency certification, and it stays in place until the work is complete. You can notify the conservation agent when the work is done, and we will, at that point, look to repeal it.
Okay.
So again, thank you for coming forward, and hopefully this gets cleaned up quick, and we'll get you off the books.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We've got a couple sets of meeting minutes to review, the January 10th meeting minutes and the February 28th. Anybody get any changes, comments, anything? A motion then?
I'll make a motion for both meetings.
I'll second it.
Motion to approve both meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. And any notes from you, Fran?
The Lowell Forward draft plan, comment period closed earlier today, so that's pretty exciting. So we'll be publishing, once we incorporate all those comments, the new draft comprehensive plan for the city of Lowell, which is very exciting. It includes some conservation related topics, but it touches lots of different topics. And I think that the commission and other land use boards will find it really helpful to kind of understand what the concerns and priorities of our residents and community members are. And yeah, I think it will help all of our legislative and quasi-judicial bodies do their job better. So it's exciting, and I'm excited for you all to read it.
It looks great so far. Yeah. I'm excited because Litter Cruise season 4 is starting on the 23rd. We're going to be cleaning up some areas around the Lord Pass. And we'll be doing something every Saturday morning until Thanksgiving. We've hit over 250,000 pounds of trash removed from the city of Lowell in our first 3 years. So thanks as always to the volunteers. Looking forward to seeing everybody out there on the 23rd. Final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, and have a good night. We will see you on the 27th of March.